People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, Nicolas Pepe, let me offer my thoughts on what I believe he's been during the Premier League season or the level he's played to. Now, I do think he has underwhelmed, he has been average, but I do think he hasn't been as bad as people make out. I do think it's a test in time. I do think there's been several reasons as for him not being able to succeed. You know, he hasn't had a consistent right-back partner. You know, he's had several managers this season. You know, there's not, until Arteta's come in, there's not really been a system for attacking players to flourish. I do think at times he's suffered with a lack of confidence. There has been a lot of discounts I'll give him. It's his first Premier League season. He's got to adapt. Even at Lille, he was not the finished article, and I did kind of try to bang that point home when he signed for this club. So a lot of the things I'm seeing are to be expected, you know. There are a lot of things he can't control, and I think are reasons to give excuses. But that being said, I do think he is incredibly frustrating. I do think, you know, first and foremost, I'd say quality and consistency are two things he's in charge of. I think, you know, you have to take accountability as a footballer as to why you haven't been consistent over the course of the season. You know, there has been times he's put in shifts. I definitely feel with recent weeks he's been decent. I think since Arteta's come in, he's reacted a lot defensively. I think even in the first few weeks, he's shown glimpses he's a good player. You know, we lost to Van Dijk, but you know, Arsenal fans will always clip up them images against him against Van Dijk. You know, he scored against Man United. He scored a couple free kicks. You know, against Aston Villa, he made the difference to getting those 3 points. He's had a good season. If he was signed for 20-30 million, people would shut up and say he's been a decent addition. You know, his return is mediocre. Across 30 games, it's not good enough. He's got like 5 goals, 6 assists in the Premier League. It's not good enough. It is mediocre. But by the same token, again, Arsenal is rubbish at this moment in time, but he's added something. You know, he's ahead of any other winger for these stats, with the exception of Martinelli, which when you consider all comps and you just look at Martinelli's goals in the Premier League, it's not levels like that. He's played less minutes, clearly. So he's come in and he's already, you know, offered more goals and assists than many players. So he hasn't been poor. Just in terms of how he's playing, he hasn't been poor. I do think, like I said, consistency and performance is one thing. Quality is one thing. Because I do think he needs to understand end product. Like, he dances past players and then he doesn't make his mind up. Or, you know, the end product isn't quite good enough. I think he's shown he's decent. Some of the assists have been quality balls, like against City. It's not in the league, but against City for for Aubameyang, he's shown he's got quality. He can roast his fullback. I just feel his game intelligence needs to improve. He needs to realise goals and assists. He's 25, going to turn 26 soon. He's my age, so he needs to play with greater maturity and seize the moment. I think at times as well, I won't say he's hidden, but I don't think it's hit home that, you know, you are one of the key players here. I don't think he's demanding enough of himself like that. I think he needs to realise that I'm here to win stuff. I'm here to be a winner for myself. You know, I'm here to be Nicolas Pepe. I think he needs to, you know, relish taking the mantelpiece. I think he needs to be more demanding of his teammates, because there's been many times he's been open and he's not been played the ball, and I think that's that. I think with that being said, I think he needs to take greater charge in games. There's, you know, you want your big players to kind of demand the ball, get onto the ball and force things. There's been times like against Man City, he did it after about 20-30 minutes. But when we're up against it, can you get onto the ball and drive out a fullback and relieve pressure from us? These are all things I think he can take accountability for, you know, and to a degree, you know, we signed you for 70 million. Saka's playing well, and it's testament to Saka, but there should be no contest in relation to who's going to play on the flanks, you or Saka. If Saka goes for that right wing spot, Saka might edge it. Pepe, for me, has come on heaps and bounds defensively. You know, he's tracking very well. I think Pepe's a decent player. I think next season he's going to have a better return. It's down to him how good he is going to be. Of course, I want him to be our Mo Salah, our Sadio Mane. I'm a bit reluctant to go as far as saying that, but I do think there's more to come from him. I do think he's been a decent addition. I do think he's been okay this season, you know. He's been 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10, maybe a 6. I'd say a 5, really, because we brought a man in and he's, you know, he's brought 5 and 6 assists. It isn't good enough in the league, but he's brought that, and it was lacking prior to him coming here. You know, he's topped the other wingers for such, so he's added something. The problem is we didn't bring him here to be mediocre. If he was signed for 30-40 million, something wouldn't be said. I don't think he'll ever justify his price tag, but I do think he's got quality, man. He's shown he can hit a free kick. He's shown he can be decisive in big games. You know, he was involved in the 2 games in the FA Cup. Goals in the FA Cup. I know that's not relevant. You know, he scored against United, which is my highlight for him. He turned the game around against Villa. You know, he's played well. We just need him to play with greater consistency. I want to see you be more demanding. You should be the flag bearer of this team. I want to see you demand that ball. I want to see you drive with the ball. I want to see you be more decisive. I want to see you play with lack of clarity. Fundamentally as well, I want to see, like how he's playing now, I want to see Pepe play with a smile on his face. If you play with a smile on his face and you relish playing, you're going to be playing well, you know. Oh, there's a bag of things. Listen, it's a pressure. Football's a pressurized environment. Playing for Arsenal at this delicate time is a pressurized environment. Signing for the fee he signs a pressurized environment. But who cares? As much as people will call him a flop and a success every game. Who cares? It's a game of football. Go and relish it. You're at Arsenal. You're playing Premier League. Go and relish it. Play with a smile on your face. Go and take people on. As much as football means something to me, it's not the end of the world. Go and play with some confidence. That's what I think a lot of our players don't play with. That if we lose, as much as it hurts, and I'll sit here and break down the games, F it. It's a game of football. You've got to remove that mental handbrake, and I think he needs to remove that mental handbrake. I also feel, I don't know him, so it's wrong saying this, but I think he's of that stage where he's got to really live and breathe football now. Like, he's really got to stay behind, work harder, really, really take his game up and really be absorbed with being better. And he's an honest man. He said he could have done better in January when he offered a talk to French papers and that. I think there's a player in there. He's incredibly frustrating, like he said, because sometimes you think there's a player, sometimes you don't think it's going to happen. But I think there's a player in there. Will he ever justify the price tag? Who knows? But I think to have any chance, he's got to decide what he wants out of his time at Arsenal. He's got to relish being the flag bearer and play with more decisiveness. And he's just got to be demanding more on his teammates and himself, man, because he can be a bit passive from what I've seen. But I think he's played to the standard. I'll give him a 6 out of 10, man. I think he's been mediocre or average, but that doesn't mean you've been great. It doesn't mean you've been poor. I think there's something to build on. I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting him to hit the ground a bit quicker, longer, if not in goals and assists, but just in terms of adaptability. I think he has been hit with a culture shock in the league with how everybody's at it game by game. Even against Sheffield in the league away from home, he danced past every player and he couldn't finish it. There's a baller in there, but we need to get it out of them. And I think Pepe's had a good year, man. An okay year. Good's a stretch. A 6 out of 10, 5, 6 out of 10. I'll give him a 6. Yeah, I'll give him a 6, man. I'll give him a black. I'll give him a bonus point because his first season and stuff like that. And I'll give him an extra point because I feel his form since the restart has really been decent. And for me, the biggest improvement I've seen of his game is actually improving defensively. But we want it, like I said, next season it should be no contest. You are older than Nelson and Saka. With all due respect to them, and it's good that we got competition. There shouldn't be a contest. Arteta shouldn't be so free to use, and he has done it, freely rotate Saka, Pepe and Nelson. It should be no contest. In the same way, he's clearly, for obvious reasons, reluctant to exclude Aubameyang. That should be you, Pepe. Do you get it? Because Aubameyang's not going to be here long. He's getting on a bit. Lacazette, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of strikers. But we're looking at you to be the flag bearer of this club of sorts. And you've got to really recognise that and understand that, And if you are going to be a success or a failure at this club, you've got to realise that you ain't got time to waste. You're not here to make friends. You're here to get 3 points. And you're here to be the best you can be. So let's see what happens next year. I think there's definitely building blocks to build upon. He has been underwhelming of sorts and whatnot. And he has been, for me, incredibly frustrating. But there is something there. Like I said, behave like the top dog. Not be arrogant, but a healthy dose of arrogance. Demand it. Not be like Henri, but be like Henri. Believe in your swagger. Believe that this is your thing. But on that note, I've got nothing more to add, really. So I'm going to get out of here. People, it's always a pleasure. DG, I'm out.